I'm Casey Claiborne, and thanks for watching this CrimeWatch YouTube exclusive, where we're taking a look at some of the most talked about crime stories this week around Texas. Katilin Armstrong has lost a legal challenge to the evidence mounted against her in the killing of Anna Mariah Wilson. Armstrong's legal team filed a motion to scrub statements she made to law enforcement and some of the evidence related to her arrest. The motion states the arrest warrant used by lead detective Richard Spittler was, quote, rife with deliberate omissions, false statements, and reckless exaggerations. Armstrong's defense team says her interview in the wake of Wilson's death was illegal because Spittler never gave Miranda warnings prior to interrogation. Wednesday, State District Judge Brenda Kennedy denied that motion, saying police did not violate Armstrong's rights. Judge Kennedy pointed out Armstrong was not under arrest at the time of the interview, so she didn't have a constitutional right to counsel. Armstrong will be tried for Wilson's murder in June of 2023. A Bastrop County Sheriff's deputy is recovering after being stabbed in the neck at an H-E-B in Austin. And it's not the first time the suspect has been in trouble with the law. Fox 7 Austin's Carissa Limcole says local law enforcement officers are concerned about how the DA's office is handling the case.
Saturday morning inside this H-E-B in southeast Austin, a man was found shoplifting. It led to an altercation with a Bastrop County Sheriff's deputy who was working a contract security job at the store. The deputy was stabbed multiple times, now recovering from surgery. The man who stabbed him has since been identified as 40-year-old Jaime Canales. According to APD, he admitted to stabbing the deputy and, quote, showed no remorse. Canales also has a history of shoplifting, robbery, and assault. In a tweet, APD officer Justin Berry said he's had previous violent, felonious crimes be dismissed or reduced time and time again, only to become emboldened to feel comfortable trying to kill a uniformed police officer.
It's disturbing but not surprising.
Retired APD officer and former Austin Police Association president Wayne Vincent also voiced frustration.
And the basis of this is that those that are evil among us will magically police themselves.
Canales was issued a $100,000 bond and is allowed to post a personal bond. According to the sheriff's office definition, a personal bond is a, quote, sworn agreement by the defendant that he or she will return to court as ordered and will comply with the conditions placed on his or her release. No money is required at the time of release.
Sometimes it is appropriate not to issue a bond, keep them in jail until they go to trial and get the punishment or the help, whatever you want to get them, so that you're not unleashing them on further victims out in society.
The Austin Police Department says an officer killed a man after he opened fire on a home in South Austin. Police got a call about a man with a gun near South 3rd Street and Oltorf Street 30 minutes after midnight on November 15th. The caller said a man wearing dark clothing was pointing a rifle at a home from across the street. The caller was still on the phone updating dispatch when the suspect began shooting at the home. Around the same time, police were pulling up to the scene.
Within seconds of officers arriving on scene, one officer engaged the subject by firing his duty firearm. The subject was struck and went down. Within a couple of minutes at 12:37 a.m., EMS was cleared to go ahead and come into the scene, and they also began life-saving measures.
The suspect was taken to a hospital where he died. No one else was hurt. Police say it is still unclear why the suspect was there in the first place. A heartbroken mother is speaking out. Her daughter, Randy Mitchell, is one of the 2 women murdered by a retired DPS trooper in Elgin back in September before he was shot and killed by a deputy. It's been almost 2 months since Randy's life was cut short at just 27 years old. Fox 7 Austin's John Krinjak spoke exclusively with Randy's mother.
It's a hurt that is unexplainable until you actually go through it. No mother should have to bury their child.
For Randy Mitchell's mother, who didn't want to be identified because of safety concerns, the last 2 months have been nothing short of gut-wrenching.
She had a huge heart.
Randy's life was cut short at just 27 when she was shot and killed by former DPS trooper Rito Paul Morales.
How would you like your daughter to be remembered?
She was very loving. She loved animals. She cared for everybody. If she met somebody that she knew was struggling in their life, she kind of clung to those people and she'd try to bring out, the best in them.
Along with Randy, Paul Morales also fatally shot his wife, Kristen, at the Elgin home the three shared back on September 17th. He was then shot and killed by a deputy. All this 2 days after Randy's mom says she got a concerning phone call from her daughter.
She was worried, and she had went and bought a gun so she would have protection. I think my daughter was convinced that she could handle whatever came her way, and I don't think she was expecting this.
She says her daughter and Kristen were trying to get away from Paul, had bought a car together, and were looking for a place to live, hoping to escape from a reality of abuse and fear.
She was a little bit fearful that I know the cops had been called, I think 4 different times, and they made the statement that if they called him again, that they would arrest him.
Do you get the sense that your daughter was sort of failed by the system?
Yes. I feel like that maybe if they had been a little stricter and taken them, I guess, more serious, that, this last incident wouldn't have happened.
Randy's mom was finally allowed to return to the home earlier this month to get her daughter's things. That experience leading to even more trauma.
We ended up with a lot of his belongings, and that set off another whole trigger of emotions because we sure didn't want his belongings. So that was tough.
How do you process this? How do you move forward?
Lots of praying. I do lots of praying. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking that it really didn't happen. But I soon figure out that it really did. Reality sets in, and I just have to kind of pick up the pieces and move forward.
Randy's mom says her church congregation has been a huge support to her as she works through her grief. She urges other women who may be in an abusive relationship to do whatever it takes to get out of the situation before it's too late. And if you need help, we've posted resources in the story link below this video. Lakeway police are looking for a man who rammed into a police cruiser and backed into an officer standing next to one. Investigators believe the suspect intentionally crashed into the patrol unit and is possibly in the North Austin area. Fox 7 Austin's Meredith Aldis has the details.
On Monday morning, Lakeway PD received a report about a suspicious incident in the Rough Hollow area that happened the day before. Sergeant Jason Brown says a vehicle approached some children playing in the neighborhood, and the driver asked them questions about phones and social media.
And so obviously the kids kind of freaked out and ran home. So the parents initially thought that, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to, abduct my children. But it turns out our investigation revealed that he was not attempting to abduct anybody. He was actually looking for an acquaintance in the area.
During the investigation of that incident, Sergeant Brown says they found out the vehicle the man was driving was reported stolen out of Austin. That night, they received a tip. The vehicle was back in the Rough Hollow area. When officers arrived, the driver fled.
When the suspect fled initially, the officers gave pursuit. They ended up in a cul-de-sac, and so the vehicle ended up coming back towards the officers. And so that's at the point that the suspect crashed into one of the patrol vehicles. The officers thought that he may bail out on foot, and so they got out of their vehicle and attempted to apprehend him. That's when the suspect backed into the officer on foot and continued to flee.
The other officer continued the chase, but eventually lost control of their vehicle and lost the suspect. The suspect was last seen traveling towards Highway 71. Lakeway PD is now looking for a 2015 gray four-door Volkswagen Passat with a temporary tag of 1899P16, likely in the North Austin area. Sergeant Brown says you should see damage on the front. The suspect is a white or Hispanic male, late teens, early 20s, with short, curly black hair. The suspect is facing charges of felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon against a law enforcement officer and felony evading in a motor vehicle.
Most of the time we see vehicles get hit, it's during like a traffic stop or an accident investigation where somebody's driving, not paying attention, and they hit a vehicle. It's rare that a suspect during, in Lakeway at least, where a suspect will intentionally strike a vehicle.
A West Austin woman caught a man on camera peeking inside of her home while she was alone. She's upset and concerned for her neighbors. Fox 7 Austin's Meredith Aldis has the story.
I never really thought someone would be in my front yard like that.
2 dogs and a Ring camera didn't pick up motion or sound from this man. And a fence and lights didn't deter him from peeking into this West Austin home.
I really got freaked out as to how long was he standing and watching me before I saw him. Because he didn't knock, he didn't ring the doorbell. It wasn't like he was looking for help. He was watching me through the window.
It was the Saturday before Halloween, and Kimberly says she was pacing around the house talking on the phone with her friend.
I noticed what looked like a shoulder right outside my glass door. So I turned all the lights on, and there was a gentleman standing there. And he stepped back a little bit, and he started rubbing his stomach, and in Spanish he said he was hungry. And so I let him know back in Spanish, I'm sorry, I don't have any food for you, you need to go.
Kimberly says he wasn't leaving.
He sat down on the step, started shaking his head, pacing back and forth.
So she called 911. When police arrived, Kimberly says they told her they couldn't make him leave.
They were just going to leave him right there on, 20 feet from the front of my house, which was concerning to me. And so they said they couldn't take him anywhere unless he wanted to. So I asked them to ask him. And luckily he did want to go somewhere else. So they transported him elsewhere.
She says she hasn't seen him since, and she's on high alert.
It's definitely shaken me. I look outside a lot more. I keep the lights on a lot more outside and look to these two to try and bark if they hear or see something.
She has a message to others.
I just think it's so important to always remember to close our doors and keep them locked, be vigilant. It's just wanted to make sure that he didn't have the opportunity to do it something else.
FBI agents have arrested the pastor of a Round Rock church who is now facing child pornography charges. Court records show 56-year-old David Lloyd Walter is accused of knowingly searching for, downloading, distributing, and possessing child pornography. A criminal complaint alleges Walter downloaded and made child porn available using a peer-to-peer file-sharing network. At the time, Walter was pastor of Faith Baptist Church in Round Rock. During a search of Walter's home and vehicle, agents found 2 large computer hard drives that contained child pornography. If convicted, Walter faces up to 20 years in prison. 2 men in body armor impersonating Houston police officers kick in a family's door, one of the men being shot and killed. The deputies say the suspects targeted the home in Katy around 11 at night on November 10th. The homeowner and her 2 sons were home at the time. At least one suspect began firing, possibly hitting the other suspect. As he was trying to run, the wounded man dropped his gun. One of the people inside the home picked up the pistol and shot and killed one of the intruders. The other suspect managed to get away in a dark-colored car. The residents of the home were not harmed. A Texas woman has been sentenced to death for murdering a pregnant woman and removing the baby from her body back in October of 2020. The baby later died at a hospital. Last month, the jury in Texarkana convicted 29-year-old Taylor Parker of capital murder for the killing of Michelle Simmons Hancox. Prosecutors say Parker wanted to steal the baby in an effort to prevent her boyfriend from leaving her. Parker faked her own pregnancy, faked ultrasounds, and even threw a gender reveal for the fake baby in the 10 months leading up to the murder. Thanks for watching this Fox 7 Austin Crime Watch. Our exclusive Crime Watch stories run each Monday on Fox 7 Austin News at 9. Again, to learn more about the stories featured today, look for the links below the video. You can also find more stories on our website, fox7austin.com, or subscribe to the Fox 7 Austin YouTube channel.